Hi guys, we're going to go over chapter 12, question 2 on your Mindtap homework. So the question says, the government is considering levying a tax of $100 per unit on suppliers of either leather jacket or smartphones. The supply curve for each of these two goods are identical, as you can see on each of these following graphs. The demand for leather jacket is shown by DL, the first graph. The demand for smartphones is shown by DS, the second graph. Suppose government tax leather jackets. The following graph shows the annual supply and demand for this good. It also shows supply curve as plus tax shifted up by the amount of proposed tax, $100 per unit. All right, so first gonna do what is the tax revenue and then what is our deadweight loss. Now, when you look at a graph like this, the first thing you're gonna look for is where is the new equilibrium. So this S curve here, the orange supply curve, that's the old supply curve. This is your demand curve, that's blue. When you have a tax on the seller, you're gonna shift the supply curve to the left, okay? So this new supply curve is our new supply curve with a tax. And then from this supply curve, you will see how much is our new quantity. So the new quantity will be coming from this equilibrium here. So the S plus tax and intersecting is our demand curve. So this intersection here is where the our equilibrium is, our new equilibrium. So from this point, go down, get your quantity, which is 150, and then from this point to the left, that is how much your price for the buyers are, and then from this point go down to your old supply curve to see how much is the price received by the seller. So in this case here, buyer will pay 160, seller only receives 60, and then the difference between 160 and 60, that's how much our tax revenue is. So to see the tax revenue, that will be below the price for buyers. So the buyer price is right here, 160, above the price for seller, above 40, and then up to how much our stupid here, there. Oh, too much. All right, here we go. So below the price for buyer, 160, above the price for seller at 60, and then up to how much our quantity is at 150. So again, couple things first. So first, find out what is the new equilibrium, which is the supply with tax, so the new supply curve, intersecting with our old demand curve. That's your new equilibrium at a price of 160 and a quantity of 150. So that's our new equilibrium point. And then from that point, go down, get your quantity. So the new quantity is 150. And then to find the price for buyer, also at this equilibrium, at this quantity 150, go to your old demand curve. So 150 go up to demand curve, that price will be at 160. That's the price for buyer. And then for the price for seller, also at 150 the quantity, so everything all happening at the same quantity 150. So from 150, go up to your old supply curve, that's the price for seller, okay? So price for buyer on the old demand curve, price for seller on the old supply curve. And this area here, that is our tax revenue. So take your price for buyer, subtract the price for seller, and then times how many quantity of transactions you have. So the tax per unit is 100, and then your transaction is 150, and then 100 times 150, that's your tax revenue. And then for the deadweight loss will be the triangle to the right of your tax revenue. So go down here, and this, oh, what did I do? One more time. So this is your, by the way guys, you see this small black triangle? This is the tax deadweight loss from the buyers, and then you want to see the deadweight loss from the sellers will be right here. That's the deadweight loss from the sellers. So this revenues and sales, we had it before the tax, but now with the tax, we don't sell that many anymore. So we lost this area, this total area here. So that's our deadweight loss, okay? All right, so that's the first one. Now let's look at the market for cell phones. So we do the same tax on cell phones, and then our supply will be, our smartphone supply is also shifting to the left. And then again, the first thing you're looking for is this new intersection between your new supply with the tax and then your old demand curve. So this point right here at 220 and then 300, that is your new equilibrium. So from this point, first thing you do, go down, get your quantity at 300, and then next from 300 go up to your old demand curve, get the price for buyer, which will be at 220. And then also the last step, from the same quantity 300 go up to your old supply curve and to get the price for sellers at 120. So for this market over here, our tax revenue will be the price for buyers at 220. Go down to price for sellers at 120, and this area here is our tax revenue. So take the price for buyer, 220, subtract the price for seller, 120, that difference, $100, is our tax, and then that's tax per unit. So times how much our quantity is at 300, and that's your total tax revenue. And then debt loss, again, will be the little triangle to the right of the tax revenue. So this will be your debt loss, okay? All right, gonna answer a couple questions. So first, leather jacket market at $100 per jacket, the tax. How much is our tax revenue? So to find a tax revenue, we're gonna take this leather jacket. So 160 minus 60, that's $100 per unit, times 150 unit, that will be 15,000. 15,000 tax revenue. And then how much is our debt loss? So it's a triangle. I'm gonna do so base times height. So 160 minus 60 is 100, and then 150 up to 350 is 200. So 100 times 200 divided by half, or divided by 2, that will be another 10,000 debt loss. All right, and then for the smartphone market, our tax revenue, so 220 to 120, that's a difference of 100 times 300, so that will be total revenue of $30,000. And then our debt loss. Debt loss will be the vertical difference, so from 220 to 120, that's 100. Horizontal difference from 300 to 350, that's a 50. So 100 times 50 divided by 2, that'd be 2,500. All right, and the last question, if the government wants to impose a tax that is more efficient, it should tax what? All right, so if you try to go for the efficient route, then you want to see whichever market has the lowest debt loss. So between two markets over here, our smartphone has a lower debt loss, then that will be more efficient for government to tax. Okay. So let's do smartphone. All right, let's grade it now, see what we get. Okay, so 4 to 4, we got everything right. Guys, one thing you want to remember about this efficiency and the debt loss, if you look at the two graphs over here, see how the first one, your demand curve is somewhat flat, and then for this one, demand curve is pretty steep. If you remember this from chapter 8 and also chapter 5, this steep and flat demand curve goes back to our elasticity. So between two good here, whichever good has a higher elasticity, so they're more elastic, they're more flexible, then this market will have a higher debt loss. So if you look at this two demand curve we have, see for the leather jacket market, it's pretty flat. So that's pretty elastic. That means consumers were pretty flexible. We don't have to buy leather jacket. But for smartphones over here, it's pretty steep. So for our consumers, we have to buy the smartphones. So when the price change because of tax, we don't change our behavior by that much. So this is very little debt loss. Okay. All right, guys. So this is how I answered number 2 on chapter 12. So have any question, let me know. All right. Bye-bye.